Thank you, everyone, for joining the July Arc Server Forum. We know a lot of folks are now going into vacation with summertime around, but no worries. We do record all of these sessions and we post them regularly to YouTube. So if you ever want to catch up, we have this on the Arc YouTube channel as well. Um, with that, we'll go ahead and kick things off. We have a nice agenda planned for today. We might end a little bit early, but hope we're going to start off with the Windows Server Assistant that Theo is going to be walking through and demoing live. And so this is going to be really neat AI-related capabilities with Windows Server that are likely top of mind for a lot of you. Next, Michael is going to share the Entra integration with Arc, which spoke to a little bit earlier in one of the earlier Arc server forums, and is going to speak through that's availability. Then we're going to have some feedback in terms of cloud operations capabilities, and we're excited to have Nate here to share a little bit about our thinking around some groupings for different cloud service capabilities, etc., and really get your feedback there as we think about all of the different management services across Azure and how we want to visualize those. And finally, we're going to have Aileen speak a little bit to Red Hat Enterprise Linux RHEL and ask some poll questions and get some feedback in terms of some of the ELS piece. So that's what we've got planned for today's agenda. And again, we might end a little bit early and give everyone a little bit of time back. So with that, before we dive into the Windows Server Assistant, I just wanted to cover our connected machine agent release notes. So this is agent version 1.54. Sorry, in the newsletter we mentioned 5.3. It's 5.4 that was the July release. There were some fixes, as you've noticed there, with issues with the double free memory errors, as well as some of the policy compliance status. And there were some fixes specific to Linux in terms of the updated boost, as well as the Arc proxy log file, and with respect to Windows, the local path environment as well. Additionally, there was some new capabilities around added support for managed identity-based custom policy downloads. We do know quite a few folks have been asking about user-assigned managed identity support. That is continuing to be something under development, so we're continuing to track that, but we don't have a firm ETA for that at this time, but under development. So that's a quick summary of some of our agent notes. And again, please stay on the latest agent version. We are constantly releasing security, quality fixes, and new services. And the best way to get access to that is staying on the latest agent version. If you're on an older agent version, you're really setting yourself back in terms of some of the quality and security fixes we have. The other piece I wanted to quickly highlight before we dive into the Windows Server Assistant is private preview announcement. So if you remember, a few sessions back, Snehit shared with us the Azure Migrate integration with Arc, where you're actually able to directly scope Arc resources into your Azure Migrate business case and assessment. So this is actually something available with private preview. So with that private preview announcement, the real advantage there is you no longer have to deploy the Azure Migrate appliance. You're able to directly scope in your Arc resources and get migration assessment and business case directly. And that works at scale, and that reduces a lot of the friction. So you can get a migration business case and assessment in less than an hour with those Arc-enabled resources, and that's using the instrumentation from the Arc agent telemetry. So this is a really exciting private preview. We know a lot of folks have been waiting for this. I'm going to share with you the private preview form for that so you can sign up, and that was also blasted with the newsletter. And if there's any questions, you're going to be able to get in touch with Snehit as well, who's driving this capability. And so we're really looking forward to your adoption and feedback on this. And please let me know if there's any issues with that private preview form. So with that, that's a wrap in terms of agent release updates and this private preview update. I'm now going to hand it over to Theo, who's going to speak to the Windows Server Assistant and share some really neat live demos as well. So Theo, take it away. Feel free to take over screen share. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you so much, Arnav. Hi, everyone. My name is Theo Tran, and today I'll be talking to you about the Windows Server Assistant. I'm trying to see, how do I take over? There we go. All right. So as you all know, we've been trying to bring some of the AI workloads to Windows Server management. There's already a plethora of management tools for Windows Server, but we want to simplify it even further by making natural language the conduit to operational workflows. Um, so uh, you can essentially ask for status updates, recommendations on settings and certain configurations, or even troubleshoot issues using just simple natural language commands. These new features that we've built understand your OS environment and will be able to guide you through certain tasks, making server management more intuitive and efficient. One of the biggest benefits is the reduction in complexity. You'll be able to save times, reduce errors, and additionally, this new set of features will also be able to give you predictive insights and recommendations to prevent issues even before they occur, right? This will lead to improved uptime and reliability. And I am going to share a live demo now and talk through it. So we've built this experience in Windows Admin Center so that the existing suite of tools are familiar with you. And so you can have a side-by-side of this is my Windows Server Assistant, and then verify it on the left side with Windows Admin Center to make sure that, um, the response it's just giving you is correct and it's not hallucinating. And so let me start a new chat, but you'll download Windows Admin Center the same as you do. It's going to be an extra extension for you to install in order to get this button to pop up. Right now, it's only on a single server basis for now, but we hope to possibly expand that in the future. So I'll start off with just summarize my environment, right? I think when you first get on here, the first thing top of mind is like, how is my machine doing? And so that's why this was one of the scenarios that we wanted to light up first. Does take a little bit to grab all of the data because it's running PowerShell commands in the background to get that data in the first place, and then we process it to give out this response that you see here. But it'll give you all the basic information, storage, system information, your processors, the networking configurations. And if you need any other details, you would just let it know. But we're not going to dive into that for now, since there's a lot of prompts to go through. The next thing I wanted to highlight with this is we have it, of course, like integrated with Systems Insights. So you can ask it, how is my CPU utilization trending? And it will be able to, look at the data that is on like your machine that has been collected through Systems Insights, right? Systems Insights needs to be on beforehand in order for it to cache this data somewhere. But from here, it'll tell you the average usage per day and what it expects, your future usage to be like. And fortunately for us, this is a brand new clean VM, so it's not doing a lot, but you can also ask it, the trends for your storage consumption or even like networking. Anything that Systems Insights provided you before, like you can now just ask it from here. And it's a lot more powerful because it does a lot of like the manual processing of like all of that data that Systems Insights like has, right? So as you can see here, this is our disk usage and storage capacity, and that's what it gave back. The next thing you can do with this is, of course, uh, it is also integrated with best practices assessment. Of course, like that's an Azure Arc only feature, and you do need to have either, SA benefits or pay as you go. But once you do have that on your server, instead of like opening best practices in the Azure portal and like having to look through, like that notebook of all your recommendations, you can just ask this assistant, what are the top 5 best practices recommendations for my server, and it will pull data from that notebook, analyze it, and give you, the top 5 that uh, it thinks that you should do. So here it's telling me review and install security updates, which makes sense. I haven't updated it since I, made this fresh new VM. Check services running under user accounts. We've had a lot of new users added to this VM just for like testing purposes, so that part makes sense. But yeah, so, and then of course there are like certain spikes here and there just because people log in and like use this VM at certain times, but it's pretty intuitive. But anything that best practices is able to give you, you can now just ask this assistant to analyze and, truncate that data down for you. So next thing is we know patch management and updates can be like very cumbersome. So we have, made it as simpler as we can. You can ask it very basic things from what are the updates that are available to, what were the previous updates that were installed on this machine. And not only that, if there were any errors that occurred during, the updating process, because those errors may be, not readable sometimes, or you might not know like what they mean, you can ask this assistant, what it means. So for example, there's this thing. I still don't know what it is, but this is something that updates its purpose. Oh no. Well, I think I might have to start a new chat. Please keep in mind that this feature is still in preview, so there are some uh, areas of like improvement for it. I think that's why we limit it to, 15 chats per session. And you can start a new chat at any time. But this assistant does keep the context and history. So all of the prompts that you enter and the responses, it keeps track of all of that. And it will take it into consideration when it's generating a response for you. So sometimes as you're, asking questions after questions after questions, it might just either time out or, stall just because we're still working on improving it. So let's ask it another updates question. So which updates are related to update rollups? Um, Give it a second. Well, while it's doing that, the next thing I am going to highlight is I know our Windows Server docs can be a lot. And so, finding the right documentation to answer your questions can be like very cumbersome, but you don't need to worry now because we have made sure to train all this assistant on all of our Windows Server docs. So if you were to ask it a question, like what's new in Windows Server 2025, it will pull specifically only data from the Windows Server doc in order to like answer your questions. So following up on which updates are related to the update rollup, you'll see that here, this was the update, and that was what I asked it beforehand. So maybe this time it might know what is. Yeah. Yeah, so here it is. Yeah, KB, that number refers to this thing, and it'll give you its purpose, usage, updates, essentially anything you would need. And it also links to the official Microsoft like documentation for you to reference as well, just in case, you may need it. But you can ask it, what's new in Windows Server 2025, and other things too, like, I'm having issues with my failover cluster. How do I troubleshoot this? Right? Like, how do I install Active Directory role on my server? But it'll give you a good like summary at first because you'll need to be specific if you want it to do, more like granular stuff. That's why like follow-ups like help. But right, like I'm having issues with my failover cluster. How do I troubleshoot? Mhm. And it should generate a response based on, our documentation that we provided to you all. That's like public, of course, as well. I don't think anything here has been trained on like just either like, classified or strictly only internal docs. Um, but while it's doing that, oh, here it is. Nice. So we look, troubleshooting a failover cluster, right? You'll need to enable event channels, and it gives you all the PowerShell you would need to, complete this task. And it's a good segue for, I think, the next two tools that I'm about to show you. So, of course, I think we've chatted with a couple folks, IT admins, on like, if we were to inject AI into any workload, what would it be? And the number two things that they wanted were, generating like custom PowerShell scripts. And the other one is analyzing event logs. And so first thing is going to generate a PowerShell script. And of course, you can still have this assistant open, but let me, let's say, uh, let's try this one. Write a script to generate a report of all user accounts that have not logged in for the past 90 days and disable those accounts. And we click on generate. It'll take a bit to generate, but the cool thing about this tool is, of course, like, right, it's built into Windows Admin Center's UI. So not only can you generate and edit here, you can also just run it here, and then go back and forth with the assistant to troubleshoot and debug. Because, right, like, I don't think there's ever been a time where I wrote any scripts and it ran successfully the first time. There's always like errors here and there, and I would have to like, pull up Google, look up on Stack Overflow to figure out like what my issue is, and then go back and forth. But now you can just do it all from here. Right? It'll generate it with comments telling you, what each block of code is going to do. And of course, please make sure you review this before you just, run it. There are still lots of tweaks that we would need to make in order for, you to just like run this right off the bat. But it does do a pretty decent job. Last night, around 2 a.m. when I was testing this, when I ran this script, I didn't have the Active Directory like module installed on my machine, and it knew that. And so it noticed that like, hey, I didn't have this thing installed. And so the first thing it told me was, hey, you don't have this installed. And if you want to do, this, you would need to have it installed. So here's the PowerShell to install it. And so I ran that last night and wish I kept it so y'all can like see the progression, but it's just a quick tidbit. But yeah, you are able to generate any PowerShell scripts from here, edit them and run them at your leisure. And then we're just gonna maybe do one other one. Need a PowerShell script that can connect to a list of remote servers that I have access to. you need to go to check if there are pending Windows updates on each node and help me update to the latest. Make sure you store the log to the current node, the log folder with the log current timestamp pattern. Let's just generate and see what it tells us. And then while that's running in the background, the next thing I wanted to showcase is, of course, the event log analysis. It's as I mean, it's as like its name implies, it will analyze your event logs. I know speaking from certain like customers. Oh, see, it looks like I have a missing module here. Uh, and so even before, right, it appears that the required commandlets get list install Windows updates from the PowerShell Windows Update module is not installed on your system, right? Like it knows that. What's the beautiful thing about this assistant is that like it is, uh, part of your VM. It understands, what state your VM is into, so it's able to give you insights like this. So I trust it, so we're gonna run it. But yeah, so talking on the event parsing, just to give some context, a lot of customers that I've spoken with like use third-party tools in order to, export their event logs and then like, run an analysis on them to get like what they want, get the insights that they want. And so what we're hoping is that like with this assistant, you don't have to, go out to a third-party tool anymore. You can all do it within this same view. And as you can see, it's still downloading. No, it's not. Okay, it looks like it's updated and installed. We'll run this one more time to see if, it'll give us like the script. And I think it should. Been running pretty well since 2 a.m. So we'll give it a second and I'm gonna take some water. Okay, it might take a minute. Um, but yeah, some of these, depending on like the complexity of your response, right? It can take anywhere from a couple seconds to a minute. I think max we've seen is like 3 minutes. And we're trying to get that, um, we're trying to get that like lower to be like more performant. But right now, like our bottleneck is depending on, what prompt you enter, it has to run a set of PowerShell commands in order to, like to check for like the statuses of things. And those take some time to, get back. And then from there, it has to like analyze all of the responses that it got from the PowerShell. And so that's why it might take just a little bit longer. Hmm. Make sure it didn't time out on us. No, that's good. Well, for the sake of time, we're gonna move on with the event logs and parsing. And I have to start a new chat. All right. And then let's say you wanted to understand, who are the last 3 users to log in on the server. It would like, analyze the event logs to check who are like the last people to, remote into like this VM and give you back the last three, essentially. And I'm wondering, I might have to do a hard refresh. I think something stalled. No? Okay, it looks like it works well. Yeah, so from here, it'll spit you back, here are the last three users that were able to log in successfully. Of course, right, like it's a bit limited in terms of like what the event logs and the data that like it has, right? It can't give you like specific admin credentials, but it gives you a pretty good idea of when folks, so you can see I logged in at like 1:20 a.m. last night. Yeah, I think these were all me actually, so not very intuitive. But another thing you can ask it were, are there any security alerts that I should be aware of? And it will, again, go through all of your event logs, analyze them, and display anything critical from a security standpoint that you should be aware of, and display it in this nice list for you so that you can take immediate action. Um, and of course, I think, yeah. The other thing, of course, is, as I've said before, right, like it's integrated with Windows Admin Center. So you are able to verify, this data yourself, right? It'll give you the event ID and whatnot. So if you wanted to, you are able to search for those event logs yourself. And let me see. Security. Yeah. So as you can see, Windows log security 1101. These are the three errors that happened, and here is what the assistant gave back. So the last example, I think, is going to be this one: which user accounts are being added or removed from privileged groups? Because I know like user authentication and just like identity is pretty crucial, especially if you're an IT admin, like managing access to an entire suite of like VMs, right? And so this should make your workloads a lot faster and easier. And that essentially concludes my demo. We're hoping to send this out to private preview next week to a handful of users. We just want to keep the bandwidth like small for now, just because there is like a cost involved in all of like these prompts. And so we just want to make sure that our servers are able to like handle it. And then also, make sure that we catch and fix any bugs as they come in on a rolling basis. And so if any of you are interested in being a part of, this private preview, I'm gonna put a message in the chat. All you have to do is thumbs up or like react to it to get on list for private preview. Yeah, and that's it. Thank you all so much for listening to me for the last almost 30 minutes now. Yeah, and I'm so sorry I couldn't see the chat, so I'll do my best to answer questions now. Let's see. Oof.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Theo. And thanks, folks, also for all the questions and engagement on the chat. I think this has been a really, really cool new capability to see. And the chat's had a lot of questions. So I think quite a few folks are probably interested in evaluating this capability. So we'll all be on the lookout for that form to sign up and try this out. With that, I will restart sharing screen to the PowerPoint. And next, we're going to have Michael share in a very timely piece, the Entra integration with Arc. So once this PowerPoint's live, I'll let Michael take control of that screen. So here we
That's
go.
okay. Arnav, I'm
Oh,
just going to use
perfect.
the chat.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I should have done a demo. That would have been smart, but maybe next time. So I'm just going to put in the chat the link to the doc so we can consider this fully supported at this point. We talked about this at the last occurrence of the community meeting. So the extension is now fully documented. It should have been in, yeah, I like that comment. It should have been in the Azure Marketplace as well today. It probably will be by the end of the day. And what that means is if you go into an an Arc enabled Windows server and go to add extension in Azure Marketplace, you will start seeing, and to follow up on what they're saying in the chat, for the Arc enabled one, it does say the Entra login extension for Windows Server. And we're working on renaming the one for the Azure VM from Azure AD login to Entra login. So everything will be nicely in sync. The URL for the doc still says Azure AD. It's just going to take some time for all of those things to get updated. But it does work. And so the idea is you can now take an Arc-enabled Windows Server 2025, and you can deploy it on Hyper-V, log into it using Entra. At that point, all of your MFA and rules about who can log in from where and things like that can get enforced as you connect from your, let's say, Windows 11 workstation to your Entra registered Windows server. And so what that means also is that, if you're thinking about this in terms of domain join versus Entra join, right? What that means is when you install this extension, then just like whenever you log into Windows 11 with your work account, and then it hooks the machine up to Entra, and at that point it's part of your tenant, that process is completed as you install the extension to the machine. And so you don't have to do anything else. Like you don't have to go into properties and join and that kind of stuff. When you install the extension, the machine is registered to Entra. It should show up as a device in your tenant, and then you can remote desktop into it. So let me take a quick look at the chat. I see from Jane, Entra sign-in coming for a Linux server as well. So we have support for Entra sign-in using SSH to Linux. As far as I know, that does work for Arc. I guess I should double check, but I believe it does. Hybrid supported, so that is this announcement. So it's been working in Azure for some time, and actually there's a bit of backwards compatibility in Azure, because I believe they support 2022 and some builds 2019. So an important note, and it's in the docs for this, is that it's 2025 forward. Kevin already answered the one for Linux. I know. Awesome and awesome. Okay, we're all caught up. Thanks for the time, Arnav. We are still going to work on, so the remaining gap, and no one's really asking about this, but we want it to be very consistent, is after you log into Windows and you make a second hop, conditional access in terms of like what geographies and that kind of stuff all works. What doesn't work yet is if your tenant is enforcing device configuration conditional access, like the machine has to have the security setting turned on for password length or whatever. You may have seen this on your workstation whenever you tried to access something like SharePoint and it said, no, you don't meet requirements, blah, blah, blah. I have a lot of people asking that coming from, so that works going to Windows Server. The next bit of work we have that we talked about, I think 2 sessions ago, was what if you want to connect from that server to SharePoint or maybe Azure Portal, or it might be interesting as a jump box scenario. Like I want to RDP in and then RDP to another machine in some sort of a private restricted network. And I want those device configuration conditional access policies to work. So that's something we're working on now. I anticipate it's going to be like more than 6 months before we make that a reality. So don't expect it tomorrow. But we are aware that that should just work, right? There shouldn't be any special scenarios there. And that would happen through Azure machine configuration, attesting to the state of the machine in Entra. So If you have any other questions, drop it in the chat. Otherwise, I gotta go. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Michael. Great. So with that, we'll move to the next segment. And now we're going to have everyone participate in the favorite activity, which is going to be live polls. So we're going to speak a little bit to cloud operations, and excited to have Nate Waters, who drives marketing for a lot of our Arc capabilities, share a little bit more about this. So Nate, excited to have you and to drive this feedback session.
Yeah, thanks, Arnav. Hey, everyone. So I'm Nate Waters. I'm the Senior Product Marketing Manager here for Azure Arc. And so one of the things we wanted to kind of get your, feedback and thoughts on are really how we kind of are looking at some of our different groups or categories of management. And so this is where we're going to run a poll. And Arnav, maybe you can help me kick off the poll. But the first question we wanted you to ask we've kind of listed these buckets of cloud tooling or cloud management, and we wanted to get your feedback on what you all think are like the top 5 areas of priorities for you, your organization, and your role, right? If like observability, resiliency, and all of that is a really important bucket or category in your role and for your priority and for your company, we'd love to hear that. So Arnav, maybe you could help us kick off the poll here. And if we could have everyone select their top 5 areas, that would be hugely helpful.
Right on. I'm just trying to pull up the polls. Not sure if this is working for others. You're able to open the polls as well.
And
See.
if there's a category you don't see here, please feel free to put it in chat as well.
Sorry, the polls are still loading for me, so just bear with us for another minute.
And I can say, one of the reasons why we're interested in all of this is we really want to kind of understand for us in terms of the product roadmap and the messaging side and the marketing side too, like where can we help and lean in more to try to build out, the right feature set and things like that. All right, here we go. I think I see the poll coming up for myself at least.
Did a poll come up?
Is everyone able to see the poll?
So I see a check mark and X.
Yeah, that's what I saw as well.
Sorry, that should not be the poll. Bear with us 1 second. Trying to pull the most, I think it's this one. Okay, here. Okay, there. I think we can get these.
And Christopher,
Sorry,
thanks
one
for
second.
putting that in the chat as well. This is helpful to see. Software deployment, that's a good point. Yeah.
Here we go. Okay. So I've just launched a poll about the naming.
Oh. Well, this is here, Arnav. This is for the second one. Why don't we leave this poll up because it's working? I will say the next slide we have, we'll come back to the first question. But if you all could maybe fill out this poll, what would you call these areas? Like, would you say that we kind of listed some ideas on the right side of the slide here, like, roles, disciplines, jobs, practices. How would you? Oh, okay. All right. I think we have the first poll working again. All right. I'm going to go back to this one.
And thank you everyone for bearing with us. As you can tell, lack of expertise on
Yeah.
Teams and polls and more so on cloud and servers.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. If you want to stack rank the top 5 areas, that would be great. Yeah, we're seeing a race here at the top. This is exciting. Thank you all for submitting some answers.
Do we feel like there are good enough responses? Do we want to move forward to the next question, or do folks want a little bit more time just to think through this one? Um, I guess I'll move forward to the next poll
Yeah.
questions then on the kind of choices between some of these categories where we have one or more that might apply as well. So I'll launch some of those.
Yeah, thank you. And what we're trying to do here is, in many ways, oh yeah, that's right. We have a few other questions here. And you can also vote like directly in the chat too, if it's moving for you on the screen like it did for me. Okay, good to know. Not a lot of love for efficiency. I think that was also lower in the other stack ranking one, so that makes sense around optimization there. When y'all think about optimization, I think maybe the lens in which I think about it is like, VM right sizing or optimizing costs or optimizing against your, I don't know, corporate sustainability goals or things like that, as opposed to, I guess efficiency kind of means like time savings. You don't get as much as the cost and the value savings that optimization provides. Saw a lot of thumbs up there, so that really helps us. Thank you all. All right, Arnav, do we have another poll on this one, or should we go to the next question? Or is next slide?
I think we're good to go to the next slide. And I
Okay.
think that people have already received the poll ahead of time on that grouping term, right?
Let's see. I don't know if I see this one in the chat.
Let me close the poll and restart and see if that can
Oh, I see it. Yeah, if everyone scrolls up in the chat, yeah, you can rank them.
close
Okay,
poll,
great.
and I'll reopen the poll. All right. I've just relaunched this poll, so hopefully that
Oh yeah.
worked.
Now that's working.
If only we had something as powerful as the Windows server assistant for running these polls.
That would be helpful. So yeah, with this question, it's around all of these capabilities, all the ones that are on the slide, in your organization or just for yourself, do you think these are, yeah, pillars, tracks, domains? Sometimes I think of like, they could be a role, like, file server is a role or something like that. So disciplines, whatever you think is the most compelling. Okay, seeing some of the answers we're getting so far. Disciplines, operations, domains. Yep, this is helpful. Practices. Hopefully we don't get, if we talk about these things in domains, we don't confuse people about thinking about like a domain controller, but I like domains as well.
And again, everyone should be able to fill out and submit to these. I know we have over 40, 50 people on this call, and so we want to make sure, we're getting more than half the participation on this. So a little better than voting.
Yeah. Aspects. Yeah. Thanks, John. That's helpful. Great. Well, I think as people are finishing up that one, this has been extremely helpful. I know there's still one more set of slides you want to get to, Arnav, so I'm happy to,
Yep.
hand off the baton back to you all.
Awesome. Sounds
Thank
great.
you all so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing. So with that, let me take back control. I'm excited to have Aileen join us and speak to Red Hat Enterprise Linux and some live questions there with respect to RHEL. So Aileen, if you're here, want to take it away?
Hey everyone. All right. Hi there. My name is Aileen. I'm another Azure Arc PM, and I'm looking into ways we can enhance Arc Server for our Linux users. And surprise, you get another poll today. So one of the capabilities that we're looking into and considering is to offer Red Hat's extended lifecycle support via Arc Server so that you can license and manage your RHEL ELS servers in Azure Portal. We're thinking of having it be a similar experience to the Windows 2012 ESU experience, if you're familiar with that. So if you manage RHEL servers, I'm going to launch a poll, and hopefully it's not going to take as long or be as painful as the recent one. But I'll launch a poll here. And if you do manage RHEL servers, it would be supremely helpful if you could just take this poll. And if you don't, you can go ahead and exit out of it. But we want to know what your interest is in being able to enable and manage your RHEL ELS servers via Azure Arc Server. So yeah, that's That's it for me. And if you have any other RHEL or Linux capabilities that you would like Arc Server to support, feel free to just drop that in the chat as well. Always open to suggestions and your feedback. Cool. That's all that I had, Arnav. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you. The last thing we wanted to end on for folks is our team is continuing to investigate additional opportunities around how we can really help with um, inventory and compliance for um, basically your AI assets associated with Arc. So we're thinking about customers having, distributed AI workloads across multiple clouds, on-prem and edge locations as well, and wanting to centralize some of the reporting and compliance around that with Arc. So with that, we are going to be kicking off some research around AI opportunity areas, very high level right now. But if you're interested in signing up for this or just speaking to this and some of the challenges you might have had within your company, feel free to reach out and email me at rnfc@microsoft.com. With that, I know we had a lot of polls and exciting demos that Theo shared. That's a wrap in terms of today's session. We're going to continue to have lots of demos and new capabilities with the August forum. And again, that's going to be the second Thursday of every month. We're going to try to make it a little bit more consistent on everyone's schedule. So with that, that's a wrap for today's session. Thank you all for joining, and thank you to all the presenters, Theo, Michael, Nate, and Aileen, for coming and sharing here. So thanks to all of our attendees, and hope you have a great rest of your day. And if you haven't already, please fill out all of those polls that are still running live in our chat. All right, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good week.